Why my nose be running? Happy spring allergies, smarties. Have y'all read anything good lately? Let's talk about that in the comments. I have to recommend this book, The Woman in the Window. If you love mystery, suspense, what?
Oh, nothing. You just look really fake.
Oh, I use retouch in CapCut. It's kind of like Photoshop.
Ugh, vain.
Well, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't already notice.
The Woman in the Window, copyright 2018, A.J. Finn, which is a pseudonym, William Morrow, an imprint of HarperCollins Publishers. I love the epigraph. It's the opening line that really sets the mood. I have a feeling that inside you somewhere, there's something nobody knows about. This quote is from Shadow of a Doubt, 1943. So, first, the title, The Woman in the Window, might refer to the lead or to the crime that she witnesses halfway through the story. There's really no connection between this one and the 1944 movie starring Edward G. Robinson and Joan Bennett. Also, I found the Netflix adaptation for free on Dailymotion because after the child pornography issues several years ago, my family and I no longer support Netflix. The movie left out lots of detail and depth. I have a video review contrasting the book and the movie, but there are lots of spoilers in that, whereas there won't be in this video. However, the cast, the direction, the music, and sets are all amazing in the movie. It's very well done. Using the same criteria that I used to recommend Intervention by Terri Blackstock and My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney, let's talk about why Woman in the Window is objectively a good mystery, even if not everyone subjectively likes it, which is totally okay. Size. At 427 pages, the length allows for a slow start, exciting middle, good climax, then a satisfying simmering conclusion. Afterwards, there's a short, fun interview with the author. Plot and pacing. It does move slowly, but the lead carries us through step by step because the author does a good job bonding us with her through likability and sympathy. Unpredictable. Arguably, once you read the back blurb or the synopsis online, some aspects do become predictable, but there are some surprising connections and a heartbreaking revelation later in the story. POV Clarity. There is only one POV, so we're along for the ride in Anna's somewhat disoriented mind. Being inside a voyeur's POV is definitely uncomfortable, and it adds conflict and stress to the opening chapter, which is a fine way to awaken your reader's emotions. Focus. The plot is focused on a couple crazy weeks of Anna's life. A few flashbacks feel like a little cumbersome. They could have been shorter, but the information provided by them is pretty important. Likable lead. To me, Finn hits this mark by giving Anna compassion for others, a crippling emotional difficulty, personal flaws, and a life-altering backstory. So I did in fact like her, and in some ways could relate to her. After I finished reading My Husband's Wife, which is a very satisfying thriller, I told my husband I didn't like any of the characters or the ending, but I would still highly recommend the book. So he asked me, "Do you like the lead in Woman in the Window?" And I was only about 5 chapters in when he asked this, so I thought hard and had to admit, I don't like some of her habits, but I do like her. I mean, at first she drinks more than Nick Charles. Clear goals. Yes, Anna wants to be left alone for the most part. That's the beginning goal. But her goals evolve, and so does she, as the story progresses. Scene variety. Most of the book is set up and deepening. We spend lots of time in Anna's house with her, learning her daily routine. Then we feel properly shaken up along with her once the action reaction portion of the story truly begins after the crime. Pressure and time limits. Oh, lands, yes. At least one pressure Anna feels is a combination of internal and external pressure because she wants to not be treated as crazy, but she also would like to prove to herself that she's not crazy. If she can't do this, then the credibility of her testimony will completely dissolve. Addictive chapter endings. Most of the chapters only have soft endings, like saying that Anna went to sleep or poured a drink. The page turning method isn't employed until later on, when we're closer to the showdown. So why did I keep reading if the chapters didn't have exciting endings? Because I wanted to know what the lead would see next through the window, and I cared about Anna's internal journey. That brings us to character sympathy. Oh, yes. If you Well, cock-a-doodle-doo to you too. If you've never felt like Anna feels, you might at least know someone else who's a shut-in. It takes a lot of fear and hurt or abandonment to tempt someone to become a recluse. So while we're waiting to find out why Anna reached this level of mental health, we're also rooting for her to overcome her fears and pain. Complex villain. Kind of. The reason for the criminal behavior was definitely interesting, and even though I suspected this character after I noticed something incongruent, the twist was still cool. That is a really big bug.
That was a really big bug.
Info dripping. Yes, like I said, there are short flashbacks, but also Anna thinks things over with the help of Ed and Olivia. Kind of. Their discussions give us hints to a bigger secret that is unveiled near the end. Location and mood. The author creates a stale, close feeling by describing each floor of Anna's house and then basically having us live in there with her for a while. Even though this place is huge and huge things happen within it, the last line of the book is so freeing, like a breath of fresh air for both Anna and the reader. Character growth, definitely. And it's my favorite kind of character arc. Yes, plenty can be done with a morally ambiguous character who becomes a villain, or a heroic character who slips into madness, but this arc is like watching molasses try to climb up a jar. You're going, you can do this, Anna, and the author does not disappoint. What is that? No deus ex machina. No superhero flies in to solve the problem. Also, to me, the showdown was more cinematic in the book than the Netflix version. Oh, it's just a leaf. Gosh, that scared me. Random thoughts. Of course, the villain gets a monologue in chapter 95. As Vincent Price says in The House of Long Shadows, don't interrupt me while I'm soliloquizing. According to many articles online, the author confessed to lying about cancer, and there's also some concern about plagiarism in the novel, but I did not fall down that rabbit hole. I just wanted to recommend the book. If you know anything about it, the comment section is waiting. The MC is displeased at her aging form. She says, my belly has gone slack. Same. Dimples stipple my thighs, skin almost luridly pale. Stop describing me, lady. The sentence format is a little choppy. Short sentences, lots of commas and semicolons break up quick phrases. This isn't a complaint, though it was an abrupt change from Alice Feeney's style. I had just finished reading My Husband's Wife the day before I began Woman in the Window. According to psychiatryonline.org, the book mentioned in Chapter 6 is real. Quote, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, text revision, DSM-5TR is the most comprehensive, current, and critical resource for clinical practice available to today's mental health clinicians and researchers. Also, Anna mentions square breathing, which my own therapist has talked about. Breathe in, count to 4, breathe out, count to 4. It really does help with minor anxiety. In Chapter 7, I almost agree with the ranking of the Thin Man movies. I also reviewed those on my Rumble and YouTube channel. In chapter 29, after a drop of wine spills onto Anna's robe, she says, good thing nobody's watching. This hit me because it is an excellent line for this story. Why? Because of the lead's habit of watching everyone, and because we are in her mind, which means we are watching. It kind of reminds you that you feel a little like a voyeur too, much like the lead. It's getting a little bit warm. In chapter 38, when we meet Detective Norelli, I wondered, is she any relation to Andrew Norelli? The movie missed out on a sweet moment by leaving out Nick, the neighbor who Anna can never remember his first name. When he helps her across the street in chapter 62, his kindness and gentility nearly made me cry. I know I'm too sensitive and sappy, but Anna was reeling from confusion and frustration, and she was outside, which means she was exhauster-whelmulated. So seeing her get some friendly help was such a relief. I missed that in the movie. In case you're wondering, the breathtaking drama begins around chapter 32. The book starts out as a slow burn, which is how I would describe the second book of my two-part mystery because the pacing is different from the fast speed action of my first book, both unpublished so far. Once I'm done revising those and they get published someday, I can only hope both are as good as this. The cover art is so bland, but that's just my opinion. I was gonna call it derivative because it looks like blinds, which of course the lead might be looking through. But my ideas for covers on my two-part mystery are derivative too. For example, I imagine maybe a photo of a strong man, all in black, from behind, holding a young child in one arm, and an old axe in the other hand, which is literally just a scene from the first book. Chapter 7 opens almost with a poem, a storm. The ash tree cowers, the limestone glowers, dark and damp. How pretty! The author doesn't overuse purple prose, so this line is distinct from the rest of the book. At the ending, everything gets wrapped up. I don't think there are any loose threads from plot lines or the character arc. And unlike the movie Within, the cat survives. Okay, I hope this helps you decide if you want to buy the book or watch the loosely based movie. Thanks for watching. Remember, compassion is love plus action. Have a great day.